consider not speaking negatively about leaders, policies, and laws a requirement for respecting governments and government leaders. I've also noticed that many people now consider not mentioning our nation's mistakes, like slavery and segregation, and not mentioning present ongoing injustices. Many people have now decided that if we mention those things, we are not patriotic. If we mention and remember things that our nation has done that are not good, then somehow we are unpatriotic. Somehow there are many folks in our midst that simply want us to report the good things about us and then ignore the negative things, because there's nothing to learn from there, or maybe pretend they didn't even happen. This is not the freedom of speech that was written into our Bill of Rights. And yet, even in our patriotic words of critique, Paul would remind us to speak with respect. Even in our dialogue about differences, Paul would remind us to speak with respect. In fact, he reminds all of us in all of our relationships, as Romans 13:8 tells us, to live a life of love, because love is the highest law. So even in our critique, which we are given not only by the Bill of Rights, but we are given by God the responsibility to protest, to resist, to critique when the government is not being just. We still, however, do those things with respect. Even in our critique, we prize respectful dialogue rather than name-calling, venom, abusive words, social media rants, and threats. We must remember disagreement is not inherently disrespectful. But critique must come with love and respect. As Christians, the respect we are commanded to give to the government is not rooted in partisanship. It's rooted in the call to justice and the call to love. I don't know about you, but I've noticed that so many people in our nation only give respect to the government leaders from their own party. Followers of the Christian right, including many preachers, often condemn Americans and media for their distaste and demeaning words about Donald Trump. Heard it over and over again about how many people are so upset about how Donald Trump is talked about, when those same people, the same people that are so upset about how Donald Trump is talked about, will quickly vilify and speak with horrendous awfulness about Barack Obama. Speaking with racial tropes and racism that is subconscious and with hate. And it goes the other way as well. People who love Barack Obama, many have been guilty of saying, stop speaking so ugly about him, but then the next line they'll speak ugly about Donald Trump. Folks, if we're going to call people like Paul did to respect the office and leaders of our government with our prayers and speech, then we have to pray and speak with respect of everyone, whether Barack Obama or Donald Trump. That doesn't mean we agree with everything they do. That doesn't mean we can't critique, but we critique out of respect, and we dialogue with respect. And we have lost that. We have Christians that hurl venom on social media. We have preachers that hurl venom in their sermons against people and call them names. We ought to be ashamed of ourselves, because we as followers of Jesus are called to better than this. We can have dialogue. We can call out injustice. We can speak about what is not right. We can even say so-and-so has not done what is right. But to call them names, and to belittle and to have our discourse descend into the muck of ugliness that would have more in common with the most pagan people around than with followers of Jesus, we can and must do better. We're called to do better. Even in the latest polls where Christianity continues to go down in numbers in the United States of America, it says something like somewhere around 63% of Americans are still practicing believing Christians. If 63% of our people said we will no longer speak with ugliness and venom about people on any side and we will only dialogue about issues, we would have to change. But too many of us as Christians are unwilling to give up our partisanship. We have become a people where our partisanship leads us more than the kingdom of God, and that is shameful.